Hi, welcome to the segment on Robert Templin. This is Brian Says. Before I start the segment, I'm going to address a few topics which have been occurring this past week regarding the state of Idaho and just how against children the Republicans are, including Governor Brad Little. Um, so Idaho obviously is very red and being is ran almost extensively by the far right. And it should be known and known very clearly that they do not care about our children. Um, and just how little do they care? Well, Governor Little has had multiple opportunities to address some topics, and instead of addressing topics, he's been at the border, making bizarre statements about not securing the border, and basically kissing the ring of Trump. Good job, Brad Little. So 3 times this past week or so, he has remained very silent, um, which demonstrates just how little he cares. So let's recap. So there's this bill to make rape and incest, which are currently an exception to abortion, no longer so. So if you're a child and your dad's been raping you for quite a while, notice I put those together. That's incest. And instead of being able to get an abortion, you're going to be forced to have a child out of wedlock from your dad. Basically, a child having a child. So good job, everybody at the state. Uh, Capitol and the Senate, great. Senate and Republicans, sorry, messed that up. Um, you guys are awesome. Also, um, what about the oh, putting allowing teachers to misname students, so or misgender students, making that law. And let's make it even more hostile or toxic. Let's give those teachers guns as well. So you have a teacher willingly calling a student by the wrong way that they want to be addressed, and you also have a gun. So imagine your classroom of 10, 20, most likely 30 to 40 kids that you're managing. Now you are not just misnaming or misgendering a child on purpose, it's in law. And because you are this great teacher and you are modeling for these other kids, so you're bullying somebody who is a child with an undeveloped brain, undeveloped emotions, undeveloped social skills, so you're bullying this child with all these other children. And as you can imagine, what's going to happen next? Now, all the other children seeing the adult do this, now they're going to go after this kid as well. So, those of you in the House and Senate, you guys are doing great. And Governor Little, you're silent on this, really? So, you're okay with children being raped and incest babies being born, and you're okay with adults attacking innocent children. Okay, good to know. And then on top of all of that, there's another bill out there which will poison Idaho, which allows pesticide companies to basically put in our water whatever they want, safe or not, and give us, as a society here in Idaho, community, no recourse against those people. Um, I realize that most of you who are currently at the House and Republican are against, any sort of, you know, science stuff, but to just say you're against a vaccine, but you're okay with pesticides, I'm trying to figure out where the balance is there. I guess I'm missing it. All right, so let's get into Robert Templin. We'll come back to this maybe later. So Robert Templin, he's currently in prison. His offender number is 122808. If you wish to contact him and talk to him, I'm sure he'd love to talk to somebody. Um, Before I jump into what occurred, I need to define a couple things for you. Use of force and what a riot is. So, use of force is whenever they lay hands on somebody. No different than if you're arrested and they put restraints on you or handcuffs. That's a very low level use of force. Becomes a higher level use of force. Let's say they have to take you to the ground. Now, with use of force, with proper training, you are able to restrain and keep somebody safe without hurting them or yourself. Improper use of force is when the person who you're restraining is hurt. So we'll discuss that. A riot, a riot, and the definition of what a riot is for IDOC used to be online under their policies, but since I have brought it up a few times with a few different people, it appears to have been scrubbed from the website. Um, that may or may not be true, but that is par for the course for these guys because they are very much not transparent. Um, a riot is 2 to 3 people causing a disturbance to where the regular operations of a facility is impacted. And in this case, with what happened to Robert Templin, those uh, those points were all hit. All right, so let's see what else is going on here. So there's a nice article by Alex Brzee. I may be saying her name wrong. It came out about 6 to 8 months ago. Basically, uh, Robert Templin is asking for help because his wrist was broken during this altercation and he hasn't gotten it fixed. Just so you know, if you're harmed or you break something, that's part of normal care to have things addressed. So if you get sick, you get the flu, you pick up a disease, IDOC is responsible to make sure that you are healthy and well. Um, if they're actively denying health care, mental health care, all those things, that's an issue. In this case with Robert Templin, they did do this. Um, so let's talk about what that means when people are denied their basic human rights. It's important to know that those who are in prison are there because that is their punishment. They don't go to prison to then be punished. They don't go to prison to be exploited, to be sexually abused, to be assaulted, to be raped. They don't do any of those things. Unfortunately, under this leadership group, these things are all happening. And as there's less and less transparency from the Idaho Department of Corrections and Josh Tewald, we see this getting worse, not better. People are dying out there, and they're also dying in society, which is another topic which will get covered by a different segment. Um, so I kind of talked about what use of force is, what it looks like, and what kind of happens. So witnesses say everybody was drunk that day and a fight broke out over the alcohol. That shows you a couple different things. First of all, tiers are not being checked for contraband and or the staff doesn't know what to look for. Drugs and alcohol are always going to be out there. And if you have a staff that is unable to properly search, those things will get worse. So it wasn't just a few individuals apparently from that day who were drunk, it was the whole unit that was drunk. So everybody was loaded up and people were pissed off. And so they were fighting, which will happen. And instead of what is called the CERT team responding to this disturbance, the lieutenants responded to this disturbance. So this tells you a few different things. Oh, and by the way, CERT stands for Correctional Emergency Response Team. Um, the fact that they didn't have a Bravo team and an Alpha team to respond to the emergency shows you that they don't have proper training out there, which goes to the whole reason why there's alcohol in the unit. Um, but that just shows you just how dangerous it is to be out there. So the lieutenants were showing up responding to this because they didn't have anybody really trained to actually respond. The offenders, some of them that are going to be in there for a long time, they know exactly what's going on. So you aren't trained, they're going to exploit that. You aren't checking for contraband, they are going to exploit that. You have staff members that are 18 years old and barely out of high school with no education, they are going to exploit that, and they do. So a fight occurs. And I should mention also, Robert Templin got a new charge for battery on an officer. The witness said that he moved somebody aside for their safety. This individual was a female officer who he touched. Just touching an officer can get you a battery charge. She was 5 foot something. Um, very small, very petite, and let's be honest, bunch of guys fighting, you're not able to be involved. You are a liability, which again is why the lieutenants showed up to this incident. So he got a charge on this. So at the end of the fight, people are getting lined up, restraints are being put on, and normally that's a very low use of force, putting restraints on somebody. However, what occurred was the officer, due to their lack of training, broke his wrist. Um, that's assault. That is battery on an offender. That is a felony because you have somebody in your custody. IDOC is protecting this individual and now releasing their name. On top of that, you should know that they're saying that Robert Templin did this to himself. They're saying that it was reported that he was punching a wall. Well, this situation goes to the fact that, again, they're lying because if they saw somebody punching a wall, that person would get medical treatment, and there are no IRs about this or the fact that the wrist was broken. They hid this. When was the wrist broken? About a year ago, and it still has not been taken care of. So when we talk about what our rights are as individuals, as a society, violating those basic human rights, create monsters who eventually come from prison, having been treated so poorly, back into society. We wonder why people recidivate, people end up committing new crimes. It's because they have been by treated the worst by the worst of the worst, which is a crime of itself. Which is why at this point in time, IDOC is a criminal enterprise. They're hiding behind a wall of no information. They're not giving statements about what's happening. Somebody was recently killed. They haven't released who the staff was that day or who did it. These are all very unfortunate things. So I think that's everything I want to cover for today. I should mention I keep having technology problems. At some point, when I move along further, I hope to have better technology, or at least that I can do live streams with YouTube. But right now, that's not happening. So the second part of the segment, we'll just do sports. Congratulations to Taylor Swift and winning the Super Bowl. Oh, sorry, Kansas City Chiefs. Good job. That was a really great game. I wish San Francisco, with the best offense in the NFL, would have went for it. I mean, what do you have to lose except for to win the Super Bowl? You took three, I get it, but you gave him good field position, and he just went right down and scored a touchdown. I think they could have won. Anyway, people be safe out there. This is Brian Says. Until next time.